what happens is in the postmenopausal years, when those hormones go away, actually the most authentic version of you now comes out. And for many of us, we didn't have the possibility to speak our truth. And we're now like, I'm going to speak my truth and I don't fucking care what anybody thinks of it, but it's really a coming home to yourself. And if we look at our reproductive years as almost, we sort of lose our way, but we've have a lot of life experience, and now we come in our postmenopausal years. That is where you deserve to be the happiest version of you, because your hormones won't block you from living a life that actually you were meant to live.
Yes. Amen. Here to that, for sure. And I see that. I see that in my friends. I see that in colleagues. I see that on speakers on stage. I'll hear speakers on stage or in webinars, and I'm like, well, I know how old they are. They'll just say the thing. And I'm like you, I'm a very generally straight shooting type of person. And so I really appreciate that in somebody else. So it's really fun to watch somebody get their voice back as they make this transition or stand up for themselves. Now, it doesn't mean it won't come without bumps. If your friends and family aren't used to you being your authentic mouthy self, it can be, just keep that in mind. But I agree. And it's also, somebody said the other day, they were PMSing. She was PMSing, and she's like, I'm just saying all these things, and I think it's hormonal. And I was like, maybe that's really who you are. Your hormones are down.
Exactly.
Your PMS is bad, quote unquote, to you, but to who? Society? Maybe that's really your authentic self. And then you get your period and you're thinking, oh, thank God I'm back to my quiet ways. But maybe the other way was the better way.
That is exactly the conversation that I feel like the next level conversation of all this perimenopausal transition should be, is that it creates like an armor. I call it the neurochemical armor. When your hormones are in, there's a little bit of a buffer between you and the situation and other people. But when those hormones go down, there's actually just you and your authentic self. And so you may feel bad for what you said in those moments, but actually maybe it was what you really wanted to say. So it'd be really interesting to tap into that, which leads me to another deep thought I have, which is then, I know, we haven't talked in forever, but
that's why we should be neighbors.
But I think the anti-aging culture is actually doing a tremendous amount of harm for women. And I'm not saying that everybody needs to look old, but if we are searching to be our youthful selves, we're all aging. Right. We're all going into those years. Really, what I would hope is that people would make a decision at some point in the aging process to really find worthiness, to really find self-love that isn't attached to how we look. And in order to fit into the patriarch, so many of us have had to think about how we look to feel love. But when we come into these postmenopausal years, there's this opportunity to love ourselves in the deepest way possible. And the more we try to freeze our face and look like our 20 and 30-year-old selves, the more we potentially may be moving away from our own authenticity, our own worthiness, and the aging process is happening whether you like it or not. So you have a possibility to get to know yourself in the aged version or try to cling to the younger version. But either way, at some point, you will find liberation in just embracing who you are and loving who you are despite how you feel or look. And that is what I think is the opportunity in those postmenopausal years.
And I think to add to that, I always say, because I get asked, are you for anti-aging? I said, oh, I'm okay with aging. I want to age gracefully, because what I'm trying to do, we know my family lives a long time. The women in my family tend to live a long time. So I'm going to have decades in the postmenopausal years when I get there. And I want to avoid what my girlfriend, Dr. Eve Henry, calls the 4 horsemen. So we are 4 horsewomen. Cancer, right? Cardiometabolic disease, which we've been talking about, heart and blood sugar, diabetes. Neurodegenerative, so brain, dementia, Alzheimer's. And then diseases of frailty. So break a hip, right? Trip and fall, osteoporosis. I'm trying to avoid these things because my goal is health span. I know I'm going to live a long time, and I'd like to do it traveling. I want to pick up my suitcase. I'm going to be able to jump up a stair if I want to. I want to continue to go hiking and interacting, playing, seeing, and hopefully not shriveling away at home. And so I want to embrace getting older, but I want to do it with some flexibility. And I want to do it with my filter off. And I want to do it as who I am and enjoying life. And I think that's all a part of enjoying life.